For everybody that doesn't know me, I run a sales team of 17 agents. We're based out of the western side of the county in Sussex County, but we do business all over and even have an expansion team in Kent County. So new to Keller Williams, learning just like you guys are, and really enjoying all the training and masterminds and everything that we've got. So during this process, while I'm going through, we're literally going through slides. So I want you to ask questions. You know, if you have any comments about something that happened to you, please speak up. I'm going to go off script a little bit because I doubt it's going to be 100% exactly how I do things. And I'm going to give you some, some updates and some different tips that I've learned and works for me along the way. So please feel free to jump in. So let me get my screen share here and we'll get rolling. Okay. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. All right. So today we're going to talk about listing presentations and how to get listings. I will tell you guys, if some of you are new agents, but I was told very early on in my career that list to last. So the person with the most listings is always going to prevail. Right now in this market, the way inventory is, that's definitely rings true. So the more listings you have, the more deals you're going to do, the more buyers you're going to get. So this is a very important one in my opinion. We're going to go, before I get into it, we're going to go probably until right about 11. And then we're going to 11:15, then we'll break a little bit for coffee, bathroom, and then we'll probably go like another 45 minutes or an hour and be done. So just to let you guys know. So it's telling me I need to tell you to make sure you have your marketing profile correct in Command, and that you're, that all is going to import when you use designs in Command when you do your listing presentation. So I don't know if in the earlier part of the class they, went through that with you, but go in there and play with it, and then it'll automatically spit out your listing presentation. So after this session, we should be able to create a listing presentation to secure a listing, examine methods of marketing and identify characteristics. I don't know what that necessarily means. Create a piece of marketing material using designs in Command. So that's going to be what you're going to take with you when you go meet people. So our first step here is what sellers want. So basically, when you list their property, you need to listen to them about what they want. Whether that means price, and let me go back to that because it always doesn't mean what they want. It's going to be what the market's going to bear. But there's a lot of different factors: timing, flexibility as far as showings, price, different terms that are going to be favorable to them. So this is questions that you need to be asking them up front when you're setting the listing and you're doing your pre-listing questionnaire, and then also when you're at the listing appointment. So the more that you listen to them, the better gauge you're going to get about how anxious they are to sell, why they need to sell, all the different things regarding that. So let me go back here. Before the listing appointment, it says the best listing appointments are continuations of an ongoing conversation. So when they call you to list their house, or to say, I want to interview to list their house, you need to be starting a conversation with them there, and then there's going to be steps moving forward that are going to get you to the eventual table where you're going to sign the listing agreement and have the contract. We're going to talk about how to prepare yourself and your future seller to get the most out of the listing appointment before you even get there. And then when you're on the listing presentation, we're going to cover what a good listing presentation should achieve and how it's going to achieve it. And then the listing appointment, we will talk about what you should do in the listing appointment to establish yourself as the local market expert and gather the information you need to market and sell their home. So obviously when you get there, you're going to hear them out, but then you also are going to want to tell them why you're the right choice, why you're the one that they should pick. And I will tell you, it's not that difficult. They just want to hear that you're going to listen to them. And, some clients are a little different. Some are going to want to hear the whole gamut of marketing that you're going to do. Some listing appointments you go to and you don't have to put the full presentation out there. So you're going to be able to gauge that a little bit. So, all right. So in this slide here, it just says how sellers found their agents. So on my slide, it's cut off a little bit. I think you guys might have this in yours as well. 39% of people were referred to by a friend, neighbor, or relative. So that's a pretty big chunk there. 27% personal contact by an agent. So, somebody reached out to them. 22% says other. I don't know what that means, but, the majority of it is referrals. So what Keller Williams preaches all the time is, referral, database, touching base with past clients or people in your sphere, and those deals are going to come to you. In my personal experience, probably 60 to 70% of my listing business comes from referrals and sphere of influence. So, the more that you list, the more that is going to grow. But that actually just shows you that people list with who other people tell them to list with. So that's a good thing there. So you got to lean on your database. What does this data tell you about the importance of building relationships? I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, do you think that you have people in your sphere that could refer listings to you? Nobody wants to speak up. That's okay.
If there are, I haven't found them yet.
Yeah. Well, it'll come. And, the more confident and the more listings that you take and sell, then your business will grow that way, and you'll be able to build that. Because once somebody feels comfortable with you one time, hopefully they'll be willing to refer more business out to you.
Hey, Ross, real quick
Yes.
question. Something where we've all sat in on these new training classes, us new agents. I'm just kind of curious. Do you remember your first listing? How you got it? Just a brief story behind it. I'm just kind of curious about people when they started this industry, how they got that first listing.
Great question, Steve.
I actually do remember. So I lived in a neighborhood in Seaford called River's End. It was before DuPont left. It was the higher end neighborhood. A lot of DuPont engineers, doctors, things like that lived there. So that's where I grew up. And my neighbor actually, when I was growing up, called me, took a chance on me. He said he interviewed other agents. I don't think he did, to be honest with you, because I didn't really have my stuff together, just brand new and raw. But he gave me a chance. So a lot of times your first break might be someone you really know well that gives you a chance just because they know you, your background, that you're a good person and somebody they can trust. A lot of it's based upon trust. You're going to go to some listing appointments, like I said, where they're going to want to know how much money you're spending on this, that, and the other for them. But a lot of it's going to be just based upon trust. So yeah, Mr. Essler, he lives in Pennsylvania now. He gave me the opportunity and, worked my butt off, did a bunch of open houses for him, and we got the house sold. So that's how that started, basically.
Okay, because I was curious, because I mean, most new agents, and unless you've come in with a huge nest egg, it's not like you have, 1 to 2K just immediately to throw down, break down to a, list, a seller saying, okay, I'm going to get, photography, $200, your mailing is going to be X hundred. So I was just kind of curious as I talked to some of these seasoned agents, because that first listing, that's what you go for. But
yes,
my experience is most new agents like myself, it's not like you have a huge, bankroll to roll with.
Yeah, you're going to have to. The one thing I would recommend for everybody is you've got to invest in photography. Photography is going to be the number one thing. So if you don't spend another dime, it's just my opinion. If you don't spend another dime on any marketing, then spend the money on photography, because obviously it's going to go out to all the major websites and everybody's going to see the quality of photography. And that's going to want them to click to you to get the leads. So that's number one. The rest of the stuff, and I'm sure they've talked about this with you in the class, a lot of the stuff you can lean on Keller Williams as all their, technology, and you can go in there and say, okay, we can give new buyers the app, and it's a lot of fluff a little bit, but if you don't have money to spend, you're going to have to find all those cheap ways to tell them why you're going to give them a good bit of service. But a lot of times just say, look, we're going to put it on the MLS. I'm going to help you actively navigate that. And when we get offers, then I'm going to help you with that and lead you through the whole process. So some people are going to want to know the marketing strategy. Some people are just going to want to know, are you going to be available to them and answer their questions? That's really what a lot of people want.
And I'm assuming, I'm just curious, I would assume that most of the people that are going to be kind of like want to hammer down into the marketing, it's going to be 1-2 either your higher end homes, which you kind of have to build your way up to, I would expect, or it's you just happen to have someone you look, or maybe it's not so lucky, they come from a business and marketing background, so that's where they're ready to come at you.
And a lot of times, and I know we're going to go through this in here, when you talk to them on the phone before you even set the appointment, you're going to be able to gauge that. Their questions back to you are going to be able to tell you how serious they are about interviewing other people. I would say probably maybe less than 5 times a year I go to a listing appointment and I will know that they're interviewing 2 other, and sometimes they'll say, I'm interviewing X person and it's my direct competitor. To be honest with you, I step my game up at that point. There's times when you have that initial conversation and they're just like, we don't really know what to do. And we need somebody to come out here and tell us, what our next steps are and how we get this house on the market. Your initial conversation on the phone before you even walk in that door are going to know how prepared and how much you're going to need to do it. One thing I would recommend, if you're a brand new agent, have zero money marketing wise, to reach out to an agent in the market center and that does a lot of listings and work out a deal with them. I know that doesn't sound ideal, but some money and to have to secure a listing is better than not getting the listing. And so if you have somebody that you talk on the phone and you say, this person's going to be a handful, this person's going to ask me questions that I don't know, I'm not experienced enough, and I'm not going to be able to give him answers about how I'm going to market, then it's probably not a bad idea to reach out to someone that can help you. Go there together, explain to them, I want to learn, the other agent, I want to learn, but I need you. I need you to get this listing for me. That would be my recommendation. That's not coming out of this book. That's just me talking. So, yeah. So
can I share something?
Go ahead.
So I focus on 3 things. If you're a new agent, is data. Mm-hmm. Doesn't lie. So if you have a system that you can put together for the data, so on my listing appointments, I focus on 3 simple things. I call them the 3 Ps: mm-hmm. Price, photos, and promotion.
Yep.
And with all 3 of those, there's a slew of data. So back onto price, we'll talk about photos. To make yourself different, what he said earlier, I hire a professional photographer.
Absolutely.
Everybody's looking online. If the pictures are not good, they're going to the next house.
Yep.
So you can easily, for $300, make yourself different.
Yeah.
Promotion.
And a lot of times less than $300. There's people that take photography that is definitely adequate for $150 to $175. So it doesn't have to be the full-on $300 with the virtual tour. Especially when you're starting out, but the pictures need to be right.
Yeah,
I'm 100% with you.
And it sounds like that's the price point, Russ, because I've talked to people in my market center, and they're saying that I've already got 2 or 3 people. They're saying about 107, anywhere from as low as $150 to $250.
Yes. Yep.
And then in the MLS for the price, whatever philosophy you create, just have conviction. I do the 5, 5, 5, 5 active listings, 5 pending listings, and 5 closes. And the active tells us who we're competing against, the pending tells us what the market's looking to do, and the closes told us what the market agreed to.
That's right.
If you focus on the data, you will convince that seller to hire you over anybody else.
That's right. That's right. And that 555 is very good. I actually, when I took Bold last year, I started implementing 555. In my market, sometimes it's hard to find 555 just
Correct.
because things are so different. If you go into a community like Independence, or I'm trying to think of some places at the beach.
Well, yeah, at the beach, I mean, you really can't do 555 on certain areas because it's really designed for a community.
Yes.
What the 55 does is convey to the seller that you have a system.
Correct.
To deviate from that system. So having that 555 just shows that you have a plan.
That's right. And one thing you can ask, or you ask the seller, and we're going to get into all that once we get through this, but one thing you can ask the seller is, of these 5 homes, which one do you think is the best? So when they start to look at the 5 actives, the 5 sold, the 5 pendings, and you start to say, which one do you think is the best out of these, then that is already going to try to narrow down their price. And you can say, do you think this house, so let's just say you went to a sold and you said, which one do you like the best? And they pick one and it's at $315,000. Then you say, well, how do you think your house compares to that? So if they say, well, I don't think mine's quite as nice, then they're already setting the pricing for you, because obviously it's probably not worth the $315,000. So that helps you narrow down, and it actually gets them into the data. So when you say that data driven, you're right, because you're letting the data speak for you, instead of you saying, I'm walking in the door and I think your house is worth $305,000. You need to show them, and that's what's going to help you win the listings. Yep. So one thing that I think is pretty, I like it, is 75% of the sellers contact one agent. So not every single time are you going to be going and battling someone for a listing. And, I'm just throwing names out here, but like if you go and try to take a listing, it's going to be difficult for you as a brand new agent to go and then Leanne Wilkinson come behind you on a listing appointment. I mean, that's difficult to do because she's spending thousands of dollars a month and has that background and that experience, and those are gonna be hard to do. But if 75% of the people are just dealing with their first agent, that's great for getting your guys' feet wet and getting through those first 5-10 deals. And then that way you can start to tout, this is what I've been doing. So, and then 15% talk to 2 before selecting one. And then it seems like you've got that 10% of people that probably interview way too many people. And those might be the ones you don't even want anyway. So, yep. All right. So what do you guys think a good first impression looks like, and whether that be on the phone or when you get there? What do you think is important and that people look for?
I think to be yourself is most important, and portray that you believe in what you're saying, and
Mm-hmm.
the 555. It's very important. You need to know what's going on around the area that you're going to be doing this listing appointment. My first one, I wanted to interject here. I was very new, and I had done a open house in a community, King's Grant, for my mentor at the time. Suggested I kind of hone in, and I was doing open houses all the time. And one of the owners there happened to come into the one of the open houses, and that's how they met me. They weren't looking; they were actually just there to meet me, I think, because they wanted someone new other than the person or 2 people that were getting all the listings in there. They wanted someone fresh. So they asked me to come and, give them a listing presentation. I was scared to death. But they wanted a higher price. And I had done my homework and I presented it to them, and I was confident with what I was saying. And I, didn't have any money at the time because I just started out. So listings can be expensive, and I knew I couldn't take it because it was a big listing. It was bayfront. It was a end unit. It was more expensive than the other ones that were selling. So it was definitely going to be the highest priced unit there. And I left, and I thought I was going to throw up because I was so nervous, but I no sooner drove home and my phone was ringing, and they liked me, and they were very happy that I was honest with them, and I listed their property and I sold it very quickly. So
great. At the number you wanted, or at the number they wanted?
No, at the number I wanted.
Great, that's good.
Yep. So
that's good. I know that's very difficult for newer agents to.
It is.
And we're going to talk about that a little bit, but pricing is hard because you're going to go into some listing appointments and the people already have their mind made up where they're going to list. As new agents, you look at it like, this is an opportunity for me to get my sign out, for me to do some advertising. This is a chance, but yet you teeter on that line of having an overpriced listing that makes you actually look bad because you're not being the spokesperson for those people, and or being able to portray that, or say that this is where it needs to be. So we'll talk as we go on a little bit. We'll talk about pricing there, but that's a good. I'm glad that they listed with you at what you said, and that's why it sold. So that's good. That's really good. So in here, there's another little pie chart here saying that 21% of the sellers wanted help marketing the home. Then if we jump down here to the 20%, time frame is important. So remember, I said there's a lot of different reasons why people need us as agents. So time frame, help price competitively. So like I said, some people want your opinion and are going to rely on your opinion on price, and they're okay with it. Some people are going to push back on it a little bit. 16% help fix up home and sell for more. So you're going to have to either one, be able to understand what things are going to bring value, staging, and I know that's an expense, but there's times where that needs to be put into. And then some people are just going to say, look, I need help finding a buyer. I haven't found where people just say, I need help finding a buyer. They're looking at the grand scheme of things, the whole gamut: marketing, negotiations, paperwork. So if we're in a market like now, you're going to struggle a little bit because people think that because the inventory is so low, they can put their house on the market or they can price it any way they want to, and the buyer's just going to come. And unfortunately, it's happening a little bit. So that's tough, but it's a weird world we're living in, and on a whole bunch of fronts. So, okay, on the next slide, let's see. All right, it says, what do you know about the process of converting a lead to a listing? What tools have you learned about and used? So when you get a call, how do you guys currently, so let's say somebody reaches out to you, whether it be a referral or somebody calls you directly and says, I want to list my house. What are you guys currently doing as a process to get that ball rolling?
For me, since I haven't actually gotten any of those calls yet, I'd probably immediately call an experienced agent and bring them along with me.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. Yep. You do need to, and I don't know if they have this in command, but you do need to have a pre-listing questionnaire. So you want to ask them specific questions. We have one here at the office that we use sometimes, especially if we don't know the people at all. A lot of those questions, when you first have that conversation, are what's your time frame, what's your reason for selling, and even all it goes down to what's your mortgage payoff. When I first got my license, for a long time, I was scared to ask people what their mortgage payoff was because I felt like it was, not my business, but it really is your business. That doesn't mean that you price it right there. So they're breaking even if we can get more, but that means that you're aware of what we can do, because you go through a whole listing presentation and the house is worth 275 and they owe 400, then you wasted your time. So as you get a little bit more experienced and as you have more opportunities, those are the listing appointments you're not going to go to. Those are the listing appointments you're going to shut those off at the questionnaire stage. And so you need to ask those questions beforehand. And that way, when you, like it says, you're starting a conversation on the phone, you're setting your appointment, and then we're going to do a pre-listing package. And I'm a big fan of pre-listing package. And then when you get there, you've had that conversation since last week. Like you talk to them on a Friday, and you're getting all these balls in motion. You're doing the questionnaire, you're doing your comps, you're sending the pre-listing package out, whether that be email or mail. And then you're meeting them next Wednesday. You've had a conversation with them throughout that whole, or you're doing work for their listing throughout that whole time. Another, just as small, and this is not in the package, but if you set an appointment on a Friday, you're not going to go out there till Wednesday. One thing I really has started to do about a year ago is the day before, I will either do a BombBomb video, and I don't know if you're familiar with BombBomb, and or just if you have an iPhone or whatever, even an Android, just shoot a 20-second video of yourself and say, hey, this is John. I'm excited to meet you tomorrow. Just confirming that we're going to meet at 3 o'clock at your house. Hopefully you got my pre-listing package and you've had a chance to look over it before I come. Done. Okay. So that is interaction. They see your face. So a lot of people, if they've just called you on the phone, they have no idea what you look like. They have no idea what you sound like. So you are setting the tone for what that appointment's going to be like. We're going to get into it. And like I said, I'm a huge pre-listing package fan with my team, and we do, quite a bit of marketing, but I feel that 90% of the listings I go to, I don't even have to sell myself, my team, or my marketing, because they've already looked at the pre-listing package. Makes it so much easier because all you're doing is meeting them, walking their house, talking about price, talking about the market, signing the contract. It just takes away that whole, look what we've done, look what I've done, this is what we spend. It very rarely comes up at that point. But it all starts with that questionnaire, and then it moves into pre-listing package, and then send a little video out, and then you're going to have your appointment. All right, let me jump to the next page here. All right, so pre-listing. So it says here, state your value. Tell the seller what you bring. So when you're on the phone with them, and set an appointment up for next Wednesday, you're going to say, I'm going to bring you comparables. And then you could say, I'm going to bring you 5 active, 5 pending, 5, if you can find them, 5 active, 5 pending, 5 recent sold comps. I'm going to send you or bring you a little bit of my marketing, whatever you come together, just tell them that that's what you're going to bring. Answer any questions ahead of time. Always say before you book that appointment, do you have any questions for me that I can answer now or that I can answer before I get there? And that way it sets the tone for you that if their question is about commission, and that you're going to get some of that, what's your commission? You can say, we can discuss that when I get there, but at least you know that that question's coming up. So you better have some ammunition when you go there. This is what I provide for 6%, 5%, 7%. We're not allowed to talk about that, but whatever you charge. And then, there it does say in here, save time, answer objections up front. I'm sure what they're saying is objections as far as commission. I think that should be done face-to-face. It's a little harder for people to beat you on commission face-to-face than it is on the phone. So that's just a tip for everybody. Does everybody have any questions so far before we get into this pre-listing package?
I'm just curious about your questionnaire. Do you tend to do that right away over the phone, or do you do it via email just to kind of get a quick gauge, or it just depends upon what you feel as you get to know
It
the
just
client?
depends upon what you feel. You know, in real life circumstances, it depends on where I'm at. If I'm out running around showing houses just slammed, then sometimes I drop the ball and don't do a good pre-questionnaire. Now, what I'm going to implement soon is I actually have an assistant, so I'm going to actually have her, if I can't do it, reach out and ask those questions that way I can come back, digest it, and kind of figure out, okay, this is what I'm walking into. But if you guys are in a place that you have that, then do that over the phone. If not, you can say, I'm driving right now. Can I send you over a pre-listing questionnaire? And that's not a bad idea either. So
yeah, I was toying around with the idea of having a landing page where I can literally just quickly shoot them the URL, because a lot of times they're like, hey, just text me this, text me that. And if they can go to it and fill out the forms, then I've got the data at that point.
that sounds like a fantastic idea. If you've got a tech savvy person it's not too tech savvy, but if you could have somebody that can put a link in, then you're good to go. Now, if you have a 85-year-old woman, you're probably going to want to do that over the phone.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to have to realize that all sellers are completely different. You're going to have 28-year-old sellers that literally want to text you and don't even want to talk to you. Then you're going to have people that you're going to have to go to their house for every addendum, every question, so there's no plan. So you need to, yes, have that URL that you send out for a landing page. And then for the 80-year-old woman, go over there and sit at her kitchen table, because that's going to mean more than anything. So you're just going to have to feel it out. Does anybody have anything else before we move on? Okay. So pre-listing packet. All right. All right. I got ahead of myself a little bit. Before the appointment. Before the listing appointment, you'll do far more listening than talking. You can't meet a seller's needs unless you know them. So that's what we just talked about. A, B, you need to break these down to like A, B, and C sellers. C seller is want to do business in 61 days or more. B seller is 15 to 60 days, and A seller is 14 days. One thing I take out of this, and you can ask that question, when you're talking to them on the phone, is you may struggle to really narrow a price down on their home if they're looking at 60 days plus. So you can say, I'd be happy to meet you, but I'm not 100% sure that I can pinpoint a number for you or a range for you when I don't know what business is going to look like in 2 months. So where we stand right now today, I have people that reach out to me about listings, and I can say, okay, let's push the market because the inventory is very, very low. And we're going to push a price by 5% or 10%. And I think that that's realistic in this market. Now, when in the next 30 days, when restrictions lift a little bit, are we going to start seeing 70, 80, 100 listings come on a day like the spring selling period should have been, which we haven't seen? So that may change once the market gets flooded with inventory. Then now you've got 60 days from now, 90 days from now, that could look totally different. So I think you need to make sure when you ask that question, when is your timetable? Then you kind of have to gauge the market for that. So don't necessarily give them a number and say, you list September 1st, this is going to be the same number, because you got to set that expectation, because it will not be. Let's see. All right. So now we're going to go into the pre-listing package. So has everybody gone into Command, and when you guys did listings before in Ignite, did they go through this whole process with you?
I haven't seen it through its entirety. It's been brought up, but there's been so many classes.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if it's been through these or if it's been through something else, but I know I have found this one.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we
Okay.
went over it. It was Siri's right. It was kind of like it was introduced. We kind of like looked at it like one class, but it's one of those, hey, when you get chance, feel free to go in and play with this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
this is Alicia. I've
Okay.
seen it too. I just wanted to ask, would you mind repeating your timeframes for A, B, and C seller? Because I was trying to write that as you were saying it.
Oh, I'm sorry. And stop me if I get going too fast. Yes. So let's see. So an A seller would be ready and willing to do business within 14 days. So that would be somebody that you're going to go list their house, you're going to get photography set up, and you're going to get it on the market. So you're looking at a half of a month, 14 days. The B seller would be 15 to 60 is what they say. So ready, but not ready to put the sign out next week. And then the C sellers will be 61 days or more. So obviously in this class, I'm sure that when you're working with buyers, there's A, B, and C buyers. So you're going to spend the most time and focus on your A buyers. Same thing with sellers. So if you have people that are ready and willing to go, that's who you need to jump all over, because that's the quickest sign in the yard and the quickest chance at commission. So you got that written down?
Thank you. Yep.
No problem. No problem. Like I said, stop me anytime. Okay. So pre-listing package. So I don't know exactly so in the Ignite toolkit, it says you'll find a pre-listing package. I haven't seen the Ignite toolkit, so hopefully you guys have that, or you can reach out to Carol for that. In that, it says you're going to state your value. It states the value that you will provide as their listing agent. Remember that sellers have specific goals they want to achieve, and this is the first step in discovering their goals. Pre-selling, it builds sellers' confidence and answers questions in advance of the presentation. Sellers use an agent because they want advice and experience, makes them feel like they better understand the process. So in that toolkit, it probably gives you the rundown of what happens. So we're going to have our listing appointment. We're going to sign documents. We're going to schedule for the photographer. We're going to do the measurements, and we're going to do MLS input. And I'm missing a lot of things that would happen in a seller transaction, but your listing goes live. We put the sign out. We put the lockbox out. We give you a weekly update of showings or marketing, or however you're going to make this for yourself is how you're going to do that. But it's going to walk them step by step through the process. So when you email this out or when you mail this out, and that's all going to depend on how much money you want to spend, but they're going to know this is how it's going to run, and they're going to know that before you walk in the door. But the as thorough as you possibly can get that is going to be better for you. Even if it's something like put a sign up, put a lockbox on, like you think, oh, well, that's just common knowledge. To a seller, they don't necessarily know all that happens. That could lead into a question about your sentry locks. So most people probably know how to work them, what happens, but I always go into it that we're going to put a sentry lock on your door. One, we have showing time, so you're going to know you're going to approve all showings. I'm going to get alerts when myself in my office gets alert when you have showings requested, showings confirmed. When you put the sentry lock on the door, you're going to know I'm actually going to know when people open that lockbox for the showing, and I'm going to know when people close that lockbox when the showing's over. So you can say, I am monitoring who's coming in your house at all times. And then I can then get feedback from showing time and then relay that back to you, whether that be in real time or whether you do that every other day or whether you do that once a week. So it's however you want to structure your business and let them know, but at least that's exactly how you run your business on the listing side. And all this does is saves time. It saves time when you go to a listing appointment. I have an agent on my team. Love her to death. She's great, but she goes to a listing appointment and she's there for like 3 hours. And she wants to do the seller's disclosure. She wants to go down every line of every page. That is good for some people. That's not how I do it. I feel like usually my schedule's fairly busy, and I go in there and I need about 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes of their time. And then I will know whether we're going to have the listing or not. And if they want to sign right there, they can sign right there. A lot of times I'm signing via dot loop. And I guess for Keller Williams now it'll be in DocuSign. But I'm in and out. You know, I'm answering their questions. I'm giving them market value, and then I'm going and I'm making it so I'm answering their questions and saying, "Are we ready to get this on the market? Are we ready to get started?" You're just getting them excited, and your excitement is going to drive them up to do it. If you act like you're in control and you go in there and you do your thing, then more than likely you're going to win the listing, because you're not worried about losing it to someone else. You're saying, this is what I provide, this is what I do. You've already seen that in the pre-listing package. Here's our numbers. Are we ready to move forward? A lot of times for me that works. So does anybody have any questions about that? On the listing side, if you're confident, you'll get the listings. That's probably the most important thing, confidence. If you go in there and you're scared to death, and I know we all have to start somewhere, but when the scared factor goes away, you'll see that your presentation, the way you handle yourself, the way you handle the objections are going to be a lot more smooth. And when you do that, then that's when you'll start to see your listing business increase. What do you think? So they jump around a little bit. We'll get to that later on when you're sitting down in front of them. So the pre-listing package, yep, go in there and create that. Before you go on a listing appointment, you want to be getting that to them in some form or fashion, whether that's dropping it off, emailing it, or mailing it. All right.
Russell, where is that in command?
It looks to me, let's see.
I think it's in designs.
Yeah.
Isn't that the listing presentation? Or is there also a pre-list packet?
So in this paperwork, and I guys, I have to really say that I use Brevity, not Command right now, because Command for a team my size just can't do it yet. But so I haven't done all this through there, but it looks to me in this paperwork that it says there's a pre-listing package, and it's probably in designs. If not, then you're going to need to create your own. That could be one page, how you do things, where you spend your money, photography, drop things in. But it looks to me like it says pre-listing package in the toolkit. Did you guys get a link, or is there a toolkit? Is that a paper toolkit, or is that a?
No, I'm looking right now. There was a toolkit that came with. I remember there was one with Ignite for the first half, but I'm jumping in Google Drive right now because I think there is a toolkit that comes with the docs.
There is. It's just it's paper form. Yep. And I guess you could retype it yourself and add things. It's just kind of a suggestion, but it's not. It doesn't talk about all the things that you would do. So I was just curious, what would you put in yours? A, B, C, D, marketing.
Yeah, I would do some marketing. Tout sales. If you are a brand new agent, tout the market center sales. Obviously we're number one in units sold. I think we're a little bit behind Lingo on volume, but use all the good graphs. And Bridget and Charlene and Dawn, I think, send those out all the time. So reach out to one of them if you need some of those graphs, but put that in there. Like I said, anything. So here's a big one. People don't really understand that when you put a listing on the MLS, it automatically shoots out to all the major websites, including our competitors. So you can say, look, we're going to show up on Remax. We're going to show up on Berkshire Hathaway. We're going to show up on Coldwell Banker. So when I put my job is to present your home in the best way possible, and photography is the key there, but as much information as possible, and it's going to go out to Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Homes.com. If you go on to List Hub, so if you search List Hub, that's where the MLS syndicates out to, and it shows you how many sites that it automatically syndicates out to. So a lot of times sellers think you either one, pay for it, or you self-promote in all these websites. But that's something that if you're not willing to spend money, then, put all that out there. These are all the websites your home's gonna go out to. And nowadays, every buyer is starting by looking online. You put all this in there. Every buyer starting by looking online before they're even calling an agent most of the time. So that's something that you can do. If you guys haven't messed with Command, we're just starting to do the Facebook advertising for Command. I know if you're new, you don't want to spend money, but you're going to have to spend a little bit of money to make money, in my opinion.
Oh, it's cheap too. I mean, but it's like anything, you're going to have to go through a lot to get something, but it's so cheap, it's worth doing.
Yeah, we've been running like $30 to $40 ads, and getting anywhere between 20 to 50 leads on those spends. So even like on $30 and we get 40, we're less than $1 a lead. They're not necessarily hot leads, but one, you can say, I'm going to Facebook advertise your listing. Okay, so they don't know whether you're spending $1,000 or $10 or whatever it is. You can put that in your presentation. One, you are going to get leads and people to talk to and people to set drips up, but that's something to add to your presentation. So because you don't spend $4,000 a month on Zillow, don't feel like that's a big deal, because the average seller doesn't understand what big agents pay for, the Old Father group spends $240,000 a year on Zillow. Might be more now. That was probably a year and a half ago. So obviously none of us in this room or in this call are spending that much money. So we're not going to compete with them, but you don't need to say they spend this much money. You can just say, I'm targeting Facebook ads. I'm usually getting X amount of leads. They don't need to know whether they're good leads, trash leads, whatever, but you're telling them you're doing something for their listing. So you can add that in there. Past sales, like I said, if you want to do market center past sales, you can use that, or you can do past sales for yourself if you do have a decent amount of sales. What else do we do? Any other marketing? If the market center has a magazine that you're going to put the listing in, if you're going to do mailings, just whatever you do and are willing to spend money, put it in there as your listing presentation. And then, like I said, the process. What's the process going to look like? All the way from them getting that pre-listing package to all the way when you close the house. You want to spell that out so there's no, how many, are you going to reach out to them once a week, good, bad, or, if you got no showings, are you still calling them every week? So that's things that you can put in your pre-listing package. Does that answer your question a little bit?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, let's see. I think we're going to jump to the listing presentation now, and I know that for a fact that is on, the full listing presentation is on Command. Let's see. All right, so it shows here this sheet that says your needs come first. So basically, I think that reiterates some of the questions that you've already asked them, but this also sets the tone that you're listening to them when you get there. Listing appointments are not about, my opinion, listing appointments are not about you, it's about them. So you're going to have to set yourself apart as a market leader and somebody that knows the market, but you also don't want to drown them out when you walk out the door and they say, holy shit, he talks so much, I can't even understand what he said because I didn't get a word in. It's about them. So it shows here that those are some questions that you can ask them, run down those questions. Let's see. So I don't know, you guys need to pull that listing presentation up. I don't know. It's a shame, but I don't even know exactly what's in there. But seller objections are going to be, like I said, commission. They're going to be, you know, what you're going to do for me. And a lot of times you can say, well, I sent you my pre-listing package and that's the marketing that we do, or I do. And if they say, well, I want you to advertise once a month in the Cape Gazette, you better have a backup for that. You know, while I'd love to do that, I can't spend $700 a week to do that for you, but I can allocate more money or I can do open houses for you. So as new agents, and you know, if you guys are all new, you're going to want to do things that are going to be cheap. They may take time, but they're not going to be expensive as far as putting money out of your pocket. So I'm going to go off script just a little bit, and I don't know if anybody has taken bold, but one thing, so I'm going to walk you through how I do a listing presentation. So first of all, and in bold, they teach you to, when you get to the door, you ring the doorbell and you say, we have an appointment for 10 o'clock today. Is it still okay for me to come? You know, if they answer the door, they know you're coming, but it means that you're on time. So make sure you're on time. That sets the tone. And it also just, you're asking them for approval to come in their house again. So they're always going to let you in the house. When you get there, you're going to have your listing package, your iPad, whatever you have that is going to show them what you brought, the comps, everything like that. What I always recommend is going to either the kitchen or wherever they lead you first and say, is it okay if I put my things down on the table? So once again, you're asking them permission. You're making them, they're in charge, okay? Always going to say, yeah, that's fine. You can say, could you give me a little tour? So first thing is, you haven't been in that house. So you've looked at the comps, but you have not been in their home. So their home, you know, might be immaculate, or you're going to go in some places that you can't even believe people live in, and that they would bring you to their home. But so they're going to give you the tour. Let them walk you through. One thing that's important is when you go into each room, try to find one thing in each room that is considered an upgrade or something that brings value. In the master bedroom, a big walk-in closet, and you just comment on that. Oh, that's a really nice size walk-in closet. You go into a dining room that's got some panel molding or chair rail or something like that. Just make a little comment, and what you're going to do is that shows that you're taking it all in. You're seeing the nice things that they have in their home. Some houses, it's going to be difficult to do that. You know, there's litter boxes all over the house. Like, what are you going to say? There's going to be ones that you're going to struggle with that, but try to find in every room and or at least 4 or 5 different things. You know, the backyard's a really nice size. It's great that it's fenced in. This will be perfect for people with dogs. Have that conversation with them as you're walking through. You're creating rapport as you walk through the home. When you get through the home, you know, some people are going to do it a lot faster than others. Some people are going to want to tell you every little thing about it, but that's going to give you a good sense of, okay, my comps that I pulled, and some of those comps you've been in, but some of those comps you might only look at pictures, but you're going to know this is how my house, this is how this listing, my listing that I'm going to take stacks up versus the others. So then at that point, you want to have them, you know, everybody sit at the table. The first question I ask is, again, were you able to look at my pre-listing package? Most of the people say, yes, everything looks good. In my scenario, they'll say, yeah, you know, in our area, I see your signs everywhere. You know, your team's doing a really good job. If you get that, you don't have to go much further. you can say, do you have any questions about that? And most of the time, 90% of the time, people say, I don't have any questions. Well, you've already sold them on your marketing. You don't have to go any further. The next thing you're going to do is pull your comps out. When you pull your comps out, 555. I can't see everybody's faces right now because I haven't, but whoever said the 555, do that, or do however that works for you. You know, pull comp in a radius. I know as new agents, not everybody can, but I actually do everything through my iPad. So it's really cool to be able to pull the maps up and see, okay, this house is only 1.1 miles away. I can actually go through RPR, which is Realtor Property Resource, rpr.com. And or you can do it, you know, do a full CMA on the MLS, and you can scroll through pictures. So most of the time when you bring your iPad with you, you're seeing things in real time with real pictures instead of printing anything off. That is what my recommendation would be. I find that that's easier because they want to sit there and look at the house down the street that sold for 310 had, you know, 1,500 or had 400 more square feet, had a huge master bath with a beautiful tile shower, and mine doesn't. So you can show the goods and the bads, and you can show them the pictures to support that. So go through the comps. You're going to say, you can do two things. There's a few times when I say after the comps, just to try to gauge them, I'll say, well, what do you think your house is worth? And see what they say. Most of the time, because you went thoroughly through the comps, they're going to give you the answer in the range of what you're already going to tell them. But they're the one setting the price at that point, which makes it easier to close it. Does that make sense to everybody? So yeah, so test them. If you feel confident enough for that, when you've gone through your comps, test them. What do you think? What do you think your house is worth? What do you think your house will sell for? Obviously, if you've gone through all the comps, every single comp is a good comp, and they tell you it's worth 50 grand more, than you know what you're getting into before you even sign the listing agreement. So some people will not give you an answer. Some people will say, well, that's what we brought you here for. And then you tell them what your range is or what you think the house will sell for. That also can be dictated by motivation, you know, time frame, how long do they want the house, you know, all that stuff can be. So you don't feel bad to give them a range. Say, I think in today's market, your house will sell for 305. If you need to sell it, you know, you've said to me that you went to South Carolina and you've put a contract on a house and it's contingent upon this house selling. It may be advantageous for us to put the house on the market at 300, and you know, we may get multiple offers, which would drive the number up. But it seems to me like timing is more important than an extra $5,000. Also know your market about days on market. Now this is going to be a little difficult right now, probably for the next, I don't know, 6 months or so, because days on market might be skewed a little bit with the pandemic. So, but normal times you're going to say most houses in this community are on the market for 90 days. If they're on the market for 90 days, but you need to move, you've got a 60-day must sell in South Carolina, you got to get your house under contract, then we need to be a little bit more aggressive. So know your stats, know your market, go through all that. You're going to get a number. And the next question should be, are we ready to move forward? And when do you want me to set the photographer up? That's your close. And don't be afraid to close, because if you hum and haw and say, well, hopefully you liked what I offered you, don't do that. Just say, when would you like to get this started? Most of the time the people will say, we're ready to go, move forward. There are going to be some people that push back on you. Well, we're going to think about it, but you need to close. You need to close. We're in a sales business. You don't want to be pushy, but you do. You don't want to be pushy, but you have to sometimes. So, anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do. When they say, well, we're going to think about it, what's your rebuttal to
Yes.
that?
So my rebuttal to that would be like today, I would say there are a lot of active buyers out there and the inventory is very low. Exactly what I said to you guys about 10 minutes ago. If you wait another month, every day more listings are going to come on the market and the inventory is going to grow. Right now, you're getting the most money for listings because the inventory is so low. It's supply and demand game. That would be my today rebuttal. If they say, well, I'm really not sure. We're talking to some other agents. I guess my rebuttal would be, I would just keep going back to, what's important to you in the listing. If they say, well, other agents were going to come in here and tell me what I needed to fix or repair, that way I can get more money for the house. I was thinking about getting 20 grand more than that. What would I need to do? That's going to open up other questions. So you're going to want to keep questioning them. Don't ever say, what more marketing can I do? Because obviously you're going to throw your marketing plan out. Do not be scared to say, I'm not spending any more money. If your marketing plan is what it is, don't let them bully you to say, well, I'll give you the listing if I get my ad in the Cape Gazette every week, because you're bending for them. You need to figure out what your value proposition is and stick to that. So there's a lot of rebuttals that you're going to get, but most of the time, just not ready to do anything. One thing that is not even in this package, but a lot of the times you want to make sure that all parties who make decisions are there for that meeting. So the worst thing you can do is go in there with a head full of steam and you talk to somebody and they say, well, especially in the beach market, well, my 4 brothers and sisters are involved in this too, and I'm going to have to reach out to them. Well, they didn't get your listing presentation. They didn't get to see you in action. So in today's time, if one of them lives in Hong Kong, one of them lives in Glen Burnie, and 2 of them live in Bethany, get the people there that are there and then do a Zoom call or do a FaceTime call with the rest of the people. But during your initial call, you need to ask them, are all parties who make decisions going to be available when I come? Because you need to know that your time is important. You might not have any other listing appointments, but act like your time is important. And that's one thing I would recommend there.
Hey, Russell?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on like when you come up with a price, like ending in, $499, $495, or, just going to the roundabout? What are your thoughts on that?
So recently we have gone away from, I still have some listings that are a couple of my new construction builders, and not national players, but smaller guys still like to do 224.9, things like that. And I don't push back on them too hard. I am a big fan now of going even, like go 400. Don't go 399.9, because if somebody's looking between 4 and 450, then your house is not going to show up. And if that could be the cheapest priced home, least expensive priced home in their search parameters, and it might actually be a deal in 400 to 450. So all people are looking at different things. They're looking at different price. The $100 is not going to hurt you. You're not going to not sell the home over $100. And the Walmart way of doing things, I don't think it works when you're working in search engines and Zillow that's doing on the 25s or on the 50,000s. My recommendation would go on the whole number. And we've made a strong push to do that, just because we want to have as many people search the property as possible. And when you tell sellers that, they listen to what you say. I've never had anybody say, I don't want to do that. I just, especially like one-off sellers, that nobody's going to push back. If I went to my builders tomorrow and said, we're going to do everything at 225, not at 224.9 or whatever it may be, they would do it. It's not that big of a deal once they know it's $100. So,
Okay. Yep. Thanks.
yeah. So that's, if you asked me that 5 years ago, that would be a different story. Everybody was 224.9, 499.9. That's just the way everybody did it. But I don't see the value in it anymore. Yep. We're going to take a quick break real quick. And then I'm going to go some of this stuff I've kind of gone through without going right step by step through this book. I hope you're okay with that. But I like talking more than reading from a script. So let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we might have another half an hour and then we can wrap it up. All right, we'll go, it's 11:15, 10 minutes. So 11:25, all right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Pam, how are you making out?
Fine. How?
Doing well, doing well. How's your kids and your grandkids? You're on mute. Got you on mute.
Yeah, we're doing great. Thank you for
Good.
asking.
That's
Yes.
good.
How about your
good.
parents? How are they
They're
doing?
doing well. They're doing well. My dad's stir crazy. He wants to be out and around and do
Yeah.
things, and I trying to rein him in a little bit, but I don't know. I can
Yeah.
only keep him down so much. They live in Lewis, but he's got a place. Well, we own a farm together in Seaford, so my kids have four-wheelers there, so he'll come over and
Okay.
hang out, and we'll all get lunch and sit outside, and the kids will ride four-wheelers and got trails and go down to the water. So he likes a couple times a week he goes over and messes with the kids. So I think
I think I saw him over at the ball field last year with
Really?
the grandkids. Yeah.
maybe his neighbors, two girls that live across the street, they play at Lewis Little League, and they would
Yeah,
mom and
okay.
dad would go up and watch them some.
Yeah,
so,
that must be it.
yeah.
Your
So
father is Buddy, right?
yes, yep.
Okay. They were
Yeah.
friends of the Delaplanes.
That's right. Yep. Yeah, lived right around the corner from us.
Right. That's been many years ago.
Yeah.
They were nice people. And
Yeah. I think Malai graduated maybe a year or two behind me. I think
Okay.
So I graduated in 2000, so I'm not sure when she did, but yeah.
I think that's about 2002.
I don't think I'm pretty sure we didn't graduate together, but I knew we were in school all at the same time. So yeah. Yeah.
Seaford's gone through a lot of changes, hasn't it?
It has. Unfortunately, my kids don't go to Seaford. They
don't.
Salisbury Christian because it's not what it was. Not what it was. So.
And the shopping center was such a great place for the kids back in the day.
Yeah, I know.
It was safe.
I know. I live on the west side of Seaford, so I ride by where Woolworth used to be, and remember going there for lunch and with my grandmother, and it's a whole different deal now. So.
And Subway was where the old gas station
right.
used to be. Remember that?
That's right.
What are they going to do with the shopping center? Are they going to do anything?
My wife's aunt and uncle own the gym Body and Soul, which is on the back side of that, and the company that owns all that, unfortunately, uses that as a loss and a write-off. Okay. So they don't really care if it's thriving or not. They're out of Baltimore and they own stuff all over the country, and they just write it off as a loss every year. Okay. So we would all like to see it. My wife says they ought to build Target there. I'm like, they're not building Target in the west side of Seaford. I know that, but so anyway.
It would be nice though if you had that, or a Home Depot, or another grocery store there would be great.
It would be. It just seems like everything is now, if they're going to do anything, they're going to do it out on the highway, just because of, because at least we've got Starbucks and Chick-fil-A now, and we were in the wild west for a while. Yeah. So can't complain about that.
What's happened to Bon Appetit? Are they doing takeout, or are they closed up?
That I don't know. I'm about the most picky eater you can find, so I've only been there a few times. I don't know what they're doing. I haven't seen anybody outside there when I've ridden by. My partner Ed, he and Amy used to go there all the time, but I don't know. Not sure.
No.
So hopefully they can survive it.
I hope so. I hope.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're gonna get started. So the last couple things we're gonna do is, if anybody is brave enough, I would like somebody to give me their listing presentation and go through. We're not going to go through numbers as far as comps are concerned, but just if anybody wants to run through that with me and feel comfortable enough to do that, then we can, I can give you some tips and things like that. Is anybody willing to do that? Don't all speak up at once. Okay. Let's see. John, I know you're not shy.
A little bit. I guess I'll do it. Let me find the toolkit. There is a lot of chaos here, so if someone else wants to do it, feel free.
Well, just at least go through, and then
You want to go through the verbal of it, or you want to do a presentation of it? What are you looking to accomplish there, Russ?
I just, you know, let's act like we're walking through the house, or let's act like we get to the table. We've already done our tour of the house, and I just want you to give me how you handle things. You know, that's probably going to vary from what we just talked about, but I want to see what you do, and see if we can pick anything up from you, and/or we all can talk about how it can improve. You know, we're not going to beat you down or anything.
Sure. Yep. So, I mean, I didn't prepare my listing presentation, so what I'll do is I'll just go off the cuffs. And,
I'm good with that. Yep.
You know, just trying to kind of figure it out. So hey, Russ, we had an appointment at 11:30 here at 29 for your listing appointment.
Yep.
Here's a piece of paper.
Thanks for coming over.
Thank you very much. Thanks for inviting us in to see your lovely house. I'm going to have you guys for a second just kind of fill this out. I'm going to take a walk around. I want to see your house as a buyer. And after I get done looking through your house, I'm going to take some notes, and then I'm going to ask you some questions so you can point out some things to make sure that I saw the things that you see that the other ones be. Because when we list your house and when you hire me, we might not have the same opportunity to bring the buyers through. 25% of the listing agent sells the house, and so typically what we see is that the buyers are coming through other agents. And one of the reasons I'm going to talk about that is that I want to make sure that you understand how we're going to market your house to communicate not only to the agents in the state of Delaware, but in Maryland and other areas. And one of the things I bring to the table is my massive database of communication and promotion. So give me 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm going to walk through, look at your things. The reason why I do that, folks, I'll do off the cusp because I want to be in control, and I don't want to spend an enormous amount of time saying, well, we did this here. So that's the reason why I'm going to take control, go through your house, and I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to find things, and I'm going to make comments of positive and negative. So I'll come back and say, man, you know, you have a beautiful house. I love that master bath. I love what you did to that and everything else. And I said, you know, what we're going to do is when you hire us, we're going to bring in a professional photographer, and they're going to take the best pictures. Because, folks, you know, people hire us for the 3 Ps: price, promotion, and really the photos. The photos are going to sell it. So who here is single? Everybody raise their hand who's single. Who here is married? Raise your hand. When you go out on a Saturday night when you're single, what do? You put on your best clothes, you put on your best makeup, you get clean, you make your house, you make yourself look the best. So we're going to make your house look like a Saturday night because we want to have the best presentation on the marketplace in there. So I thank you for letting me walk through your house. I saw some good things, and we're going to talk.
Steve, what do you think that I can do to the home to gain value, to make more money? Is there anything that you think that I can upgrade or add that wouldn't cost too much money but would give me more equity?
You know, that's an excellent question, and there's always improvements we can do, and sometimes they don't necessarily have to cost capital money. So what I noticed, like in the kitchen, is on top of your countertops and then your cabinets, you have a lot of stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to declutter the house. So this is your home. You hired me to sell a house to the next person that's going to buy a home. So what you see in your home and what a buyer is going to see are going to be 2 different things. So there's a couple things that I noticed that I've taken notes that I'll put together for you in a kind of a marketing plan that we need to go through.
Okay.
I noticed, I noticed the garage door had a little bit of rust. So if you could get some spray paint and clean it, before I came in, I walked your house. I looked at your gutters, I looked at your shutters, I looked at your neighbors. I drove through the community before I came through to see how your house compares to other houses in the community.
I'm going to step back real quick, Steve. I'm going to, instead of saying, what can I do to make it better? I'm going to say, well, I just want to sell my house. I don't want to do any fixes. I want to sell my house as is. What do you think about that?
So everybody wants to get the highest price for their house, and you hire me to get the highest price for the house. We're going to look at the data, and the data is going to tell us what that's going to bear. If you desire that you don't want to put additional money into your home, that's really your decision, but you're hiring me to give you the recommendation to maximize your return. And the market's going to tell us. So if we put your house on the market and we get no activity, no showing, that's data. Everything that we do is data. And you hire me to interpret the data to give you feedback. And you want honest, straightforward feedback to sell your house quickly. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I don't really, I don't really need to sell this month. I mean, if it takes 6 months to a year, and I'd like to get, probably like 20 grand more than what you're telling me.
So Russ, when we talked on the phone, you said that you had a new job lined up and you need to be in another state. What happens if you don't sell your house in the time manner that you talked about to get to that new job?
Well, I could probably handle the 2 payments for maybe 3 to 4 months, but after that, things would get a little tight. Yeah. So your motivation of moving was because of the better your job, give you for your family and everything else. Whatever those reasons are, they're important. I realize that you're saying that you don't need to move in the 6 months. I want to make sure that you're going to pick the right agent that's going to give you the right information, and we're going to sell. I'm going to invest in the promotional side of your business so that the longer we have your house on the market, the more likely that you're going to have to make some price changes. So if we don't come out in the market correctly at the beginning, it's going to hurt later on. And we want to make sure that we give you the most money in your sale so that you can get to your house and make sure that your family, and you don't have to bleed through your cash. Because right now that we know there's a lot of economic data that people want to keep their cash. And I'm sure you're like everybody else, conservative, and you want to make sure that you have those means and you don't put yourself in the position of additional stress. Would that be correct? That makes sense. Yep. I didn't look at it that way.
Well, thank you. So, looking at your house, so we went through, so what I have now is kind of like analysis. We're going to do the 5-5-5. So we're going to look at the 5 current active properties, and we're going to go back to, and why is that important? Because we want to make sure that when we hit the market, that your house looks the best and is priced correctly compared to those 5, because that is what people want for their house. Then we're going to look at pending, and the pending is really what a buyer and a seller has agreed. See, I don't pick the price. A buyer picks the price and a seller picks, and they come together, and then you determine the close price, which is the market. So it's really important for us to look at what's active, what's pending, and what's closed, because closed tells us what people agreed to do in the marketplace. From that data, we're going to look at that, and I want you to kind of look at this. So I'm going to pull out the 5-5-5, and I'm going to ask questions. Have you been in this house? Have you been in? Oh God, that house, man! They spent 80 grand upgrading the kitchen, and they did all this. So that big comp doesn't fit, maybe here. So once I show the data, they come to the conclusion of where their kind of price is. So there are agents out there that will take your overpriced life. I don't know what they do, but I'm here to show you what I do and how to get your house sold. And most of the agents are like made professional. They're going to do the same analysis of the 5-5-5. So we're all going to go to the same bright MLS, and we're going to look at, is the house overpriced? Is the house sold? And if that data is not in line, it's going to come back to us. So it's not that hard. It's not that easy, but you hire the right agent to get it done effectively. Sure. At Keller,
time out real quick. One thing you want to add into that is about if there's financing involved, that an appraisal is going to have to happen as well.
So, absolutely.
Add that to your, and you can lean on the appraisals. Say, look, we can try to go fishing for as much money as we possibly can, but at the end of the day, if there's financing involved, an appraiser is going to look at the same comps that I'm showing you right now, and that's what they're going to be based upon. So, play that card hard as well, because they can think you're just trying to go in there and lowball them and get a listing and get it sold in the first 2 days. But when they realize that there's somebody else that has to put eyes on it, then that definitely changes their mindset a little bit.
So, you bring up a great point. So an appraisal is definitely a consideration in the marketplace, because if someone's paying cash, they might lowball you because they think they got cash, or they might pay more because they want your house. So there's a checks and balance in the marketplaces with appraisals. And the reason why we have those appraisals is to protect everybody in the marketplace and in driving it. So
yes. So what is your commission?
So my commission is negotiable. I usually charge 9%.
That seems really high. I've talked to some other agents, and it looks like they're, some of them are even willing to do 5%.
If you go in here and here's a report of the MLS, a lot of agents are lazy. They just go, oh, okay, I'll do it for 5%. And here's why they do that. Because it's just easy, and it's kind of an awkward situation and a conversation. So the reason why I do 6% or 7%, whatever percent it needs to be, is these are the services I provide. See, you probably don't know, you're going to spend, you're not going to spend, you're going to pay 6%, 5%. Steve Morgan doesn't get to keep that. If you recall, I said 25% of the properties are sold by me. 75% are sold by another agent. So my communication. So that 6%, 3% goes to that Caldwell banker, 3% comes here. It breaks out to the services after I pay Uncle Sam. So really, I'm not making 6% off of your particular property. And let me tell you what the services I'm going to provide. Now I'll go through the services of the promotion. I'm going to communicate. It's going to hit Facebook. I have a web page on Facebook where I have 1,000 or 10,000 fans. I have a marketing plan. I'm going to communicate. It's going to get driven out to agents. I mean, I just go into a wealth of information. But one of the things I really want to point out is the SCORE, Sussex County Association, shows that most of the listings are getting 96% to their list price. At Keller Williams, we're getting 97% of list price, and my team is getting 98% the list price. What does that mean to you? That means a higher return on your investment. So even though you list your property, and here's the date of the closes, you can see that all these properties got listed at this price, and this is what they closed at. So everybody wants to have a little room for negotiation. The problem, and I want to show you this data, if you come in at a price, drop it, people come in lower and lower. So the reason why I'm hired to list your property is because of the return of investment I'm going to give you as a seller, so that you're going to have a smooth, quick transaction so that you can get down to North Carolina to your new job. So I put together the package. We can have the, what day would you want to have the photography? How much time do you need to have your house to get ready for the photographer? We can actually do a coming soon so that people know that your property is on there. I do it a little differently than everybody else. I do the coming soon with all your pictures of your house. It'll be about 45 pictures. And we can have your house on the market, and we do something different in our team is not only we put you into the Bright MLS that's going to go out to Realtor Zillow and all.com and out to our people. We also do an open house, which we know the algorithm gives us a higher feed in the marketplace when your property hits. So your house is going to hit in 3 weeks, and then in 4 weeks, we're going to do an open house.
Okay.
Sign right here.
Well, I've been thinking about it, and I think I might want to interview a couple more people before I make a decision. So I have to get back with you, maybe in a week or so.
So I can appreciate that if you want to take some time and interview other agents in the marketplace. I could do, is it that you have a family member that's in the business or there? So you know, who are you meeting with? When are you meeting with them? Because what I've done in the past is that if that particular agent has not come in and talked to you, as I mentioned, 75% of those properties are sold by other agents. We sign the paperwork. I could call them up, give them a conversation that you met with me and you felt that I was the best person for it. And if they had a buyer, we could bring a buyer in.
That makes sense. I didn't want to cut my cousin out, but I mean, it makes sense.
You know, I appreciate trying to hire people that are family and friends. You know, if I had to get surgery, I don't know if I had hired my mom to do the surgery. I think I'd hire, you know, the professional. But I'll take care of that for you, make it easy so you don't have to have that awkward conversation. And we can move forward and have it properly in the market. And
Makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, well, let's
thanks for putting me on the spot, by the way.
What's that?
Thanks for putting me on the spot. I
knew that was
how I do things.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was really good.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Thank
It
you.
was very nice.
Steve, two things, just constructive criticism, and please don't take two things that I see that you may want to think about is the whole 25%, you sell 25, they sell. In today's market with inventory so low, what you're basically telling them is that they should go ahead and hire a photographer themselves and put it on Zillow by themselves. You know, so you got to look at it that way a little bit. You want to, you know, my sales team, we have 17 agents, but we pride ourselves that we sell a lot of houses in-house. So a lot of my buyers agents are garnering leads from our listings and selling them, and we're getting both sides. In Delaware, we're allowed to do that. Maryland's a little trickier. But, you know, a lot of times the sellers don't really understand how the game is played. They just want to have the house sold. So I think you need to flip the other side and play up like, you know, we do. And you don't have to say 25%, but myself and my team or myself and my brokerage seem to sell a lot of properties and we're the dual agent on it. That excites people because it's like you've already got somebody. If not, they're going to say, well, I'll just get photography done and I'll go ahead and put it out myself. And then you can bring an up buyer, or Coldwell Banker agent can bring a buyer, or Berkshire Hathaway can bring a buyer. So I get what you're trying to say, but in this market right now, you're giving them a little bit of an idea like I should just not pay you 6%. I should just do it myself.
Good point.
So, you know, you do what's best for you and will work for you. I try to give them, I don't try to give them any in to say, why would I use a realtor? Why can't I just do it myself? Because a lot of people, there's a million reasons why.
I would say that my listing appointments are, you know, I'm probably 40% listings and probably 60% buyers.
Okay.
And so I would say that if I had a listing appointment, I actually went through bold. I would probably spend about an hour before crafting my presentation to those people.
Good.
And my thought process. One of the things that I sell on for me is I have a huge database of communication. So I do allude that I can go find that buyer for their particular property and what I'm going to do. But
play that up.
I threw it out there. So.
Play that up, play that database up, because they want to know that you have the buyer in your pocket that's going to bring at the end of the day, John, Siri, anybody's going to bring that buyer, but you want them when they're sitting at that table with you to say, Steve's bringing me that buyer. That's going to be the urgency to get them to sign that document. A lot of times that's going to stop them from even asking that question of saying I want to interview more agents. If they're like, Steve's got a database of 10,000 buyers that he's shooting all this stuff to, the average seller doesn't know how our game's played. So they're going to say, well, damn, Steve's got 10,000 people he's going to shoot it to. I need to sign with him now. So
one of the things that I usually add in there, and I didn't add it in this presentation because I was going off the cuff.
Yep.
Is I always bring up a story that most people don't like aggressive people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't. But you do love an aggressive agent working on your behalf. And the reason why you hire me because I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to be that personality that you might not be.
Yep.
And that's agents always go, he's pushy, he's aggressive. And if you're on a baseball team or a football team, don't you want that aggressive player? You want that person fighting for you so hard.
Yep.
You might not like that person, but you're going to hire that person. You know what I mean? Like, everybody hates LeBron. Everybody hated, everybody all love Jordan. But, they hate the best player because he's good. So you kind of, portray that you're hiring me to be that aggressive. On a social level, I'm not aggressive. But you're hiring me to sell your house. And these are the things we need to do. And just do it with conviction.
And that's what I talked about before, confidence. That's going to be the number one thing. There's people that are just going to go and attack listings and take listings because they're confident in what they're saying. Steve, you're absolutely right. I think you need to think about just using that confidence and that aggressiveness to say, I'm going to bring you a buyer, knowing that 75% of the time you're probably not going to bring that buyer. But when you're sitting there at that listing appointment, they got to see it in your face, like, I'm bringing you that buyer.
And when they say, you came up with, really, this industry is not that hard. It's the same objections.
Yep.
Commission, I got to talk to another agent. If you hear they need to talk to another agent, man, you need to drill in every possible way to find out who that other agent is and what they are.
Yep.
You need to have an answer where you don't go, You just kind of, that's great. And I learned something where, use my hands. I don't know what the other agents do out there, but I'm right here, and I'm going to tell you what I do here for you.
And I'd say 90%, and they have all these numbers in here, percentages. But when you're sitting at the table, most people in their mind don't want to meet with another agent. They don't want to take the time to meet with another agent. So that's when you close the deal. You did a great job, by the way. The second thing I will say is, and I can't remember because I took Boulder a year and a half ago. Are they telling you to go high on your commission and then drop down? Because I know you went 9 and then you went to 6.
Well, actually, ask me a question. I actually have a smart answer. So it cracks the price, it cracks the whole thing. So people go, ask me if my commission is negotiable. Yes.
Is your commission negotiable?
Absolutely. You want to pay me more? I'll take it.
There you go. I like the idea. If your commission's 6 and you're stuck on, and that's what you want, then in my experience, you go in with 6 and you don't even, my commission is 6% and you move on.
So you're absolutely right. So 2 things. One, when they ask if it's funny, is your price negotiable? Absolutely. If you want to pay more than I have it listed for, I will take it. And they laugh because they're thinking more, they're thinking less.
Yes.
If you say, and I use another one, I say, all these other agents are only offering 5 because they're lazy.
Yep.
It's easy for me to go, I'll do it for 5.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know what they do out there. They're at 5%.
Yep.
Hired for here.
Yep. And if your listing presentation and your pre-listing package is correct and it is thorough and you come in there and you do exactly what you did, Steve, even if they ask you that question, you say, well, my commission is 6%, but if you'd like to pay me more, usually that conversation's over with. So that's why I said at the beginning, try to have your commission discussions face-to-face. I know that's a little harder, but people, the nature of people, it's harder to tell people, well, no, I'm not going to use you because I want, even though 5% could mean $2,000, or a difference between 1% could be $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Most people don't have all that, or they back down from you if you're going to stand your ground. And guys, new agents in the business, one deal losing $3,000 or $4,000 is a lot of money. So really. Make sure
I have a question though.
Yes.
You do your due diligence and you know how much they paid for the home, and then when you walk in there and they tell you that they put this much into it, and But then
Yes.
they tell you how much they owe. You know, you don't take any of that into consideration. You just are staying true to your 6%.
So you can actually, in the MLS, you can look up their mortgage. So you can kind of get an idea. In the MLS, you go into the tax records and they'll tell you what their mortgage is, unless they have another one. It doesn't really matter what they owe in the sense that what the market bears. So the market bear what the market's going to bear. If the pricing, if the area says that, you know, it's a 295 community and they want 350, it's not your listing.
Right.
You're wasting your time.
Julie, are you saying commission? So are you saying if you could do it at 5%, would that make the numbers work versus 6%? Is that what you're asking? Or are you just asking strictly price?
Well, no, I mean, you know, obviously, you know, you're not going to take it if they want to sell it for 350. You have to know, but also know that if they're thinking it's 350 and because they have whatever debt that they have to pay off and how much they want to walk away from, well, you know, if you know for sure it's not going to go at, you know, until, if you know what they owe on their property and they're just trying to fluff it is one thing. But if they're looking to walk away with, you know, a certain amount of money, you're not going to budge on that. I don't know how to put it.
I get what you're saying. You're saying that you think if you drop the commission, it will help them get the price they want so they can walk away for what they want.
Yeah, and it may not be what they're looking for, but, you know, I'm not sure that all of them fall under a 6%, is, I guess. I don't know. I'm not to say that our time isn't worth it. I just think when you look at the big picture, sometimes, you know, you want to, if you really want the listing, especially if it is in a really good neighborhood that is selling, or you feel that, you know, you already have a buyer, then maybe you don't come out. But you're saying you don't negotiate that no matter what. Is that what you're saying? That
we would all be liars if we said that I would be a liar if I said every listing I took is 6%. I've got repeat customers that I do 5% because I do 10, 15 deals a year with them. So, right. You know, your goal is to get 6%, and we shouldn't be talking at 6%, 7%, whatever you want to get. It should be your goal. You should have your value proposition to get that number. So you don't have to negotiate that number. Like I said, you're going to get to a point where you're so comfortable that you may run into that objection one every 10 listings you go to. But if you provide value for them, a lot of times, like Steve, they don't even have the audacity to ask you for a reduction in commission. Now, if you have a conversation with someone, if they call you and they say, look, we're struggling here. We need to get out of this house. We've got issues. In 3 months, I'm not going to be able to make my mortgage payment. I got to get out of here fast. Can you come talk to me? I would probably take a 5% listing, but I would want to see their mortgage payoff. I mean, they got to open the books up. They can't be lying to you. You know, let's say, I want to get you out of this situation. There's personal situations that we deal with all the time to get people out. You don't want somebody, what I'm talking about is somebody that owes $400,000 on an $800,000 house. Those people might not be the ones that you're gonna want to get your commission on that.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, and these are the things that are taboo. Like, people don't want to talk about this on the listing side, but that could be on that situation, that could be $8,000 more that you get by 1%. I mean, $8,000 in somebody's pocket changes their year a little bit, you know, so that we are commission-based salespeople. So you've got to do what's best for your business, but 100%, there's going to be situations where people come to you, whether they be family, friends, referrals, even leads that come into you, and you have to then decide what you're willing to do. If they're in a bad spot, make them show you they're in a bad spot, not just take their word for it, because some people will take advantage of you.
Can I make a comment? It's Alicia.
Yes, hi.
This is really great discussion. I do about, I guess, 80% of my work with buyers, and I have a goal to increase that and to working with sellers. And I've had my share of working with sellers, and it's been a bumpy journey. But I will say that, you know, so far my strategy, I've probably only had one conversation out of maybe the 5 or 7 listing appointments I've had. One conversation came up about commission. I really just don't bring it up. And I focus on the net estimate. So I just pretty much, and I'm sharing this for feedback, but so far it has worked for me. On the little bit of listings I've had, but I honestly just, you know, after all of the steps you've talked about, when we're sitting down and I bring up the money conversation myself so that they don't have to do that. And I say, okay, so I've done a net estimate for you based on what you said you owe on your mortgage. So here's what you net. I literally skip past the section that goes over the fees that they pay out, and I just point out the net. So here's what you're going to net from the sale of this house. How does that look to you? Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, they haven't even seen the $11,000. They're going to pay off the 6% commission. That's you know, and that has been my strategy. And you know, the one time it did come up, I remember saying to the seller, you know, that might be negotiable, but then she forgot about it and I showed her the net estimate and we didn't even talk about it again. I think that Julie brings up an interesting point. You know, have I sat with people that are, you know, somewhat upside down in their mortgage? I have, and I try to give other options. I still don't bring up the commission. I just feel like we work so hard. People don't realize how much work we actually do to get that check. And I said, I don't bring it up. I try to find other ways to, you know, you're the one that are saying that you need this service and there's a cost to that. And Absolutely. That's kind of my mentality right now. I guess when I get more experienced, like some of you are with, you know, taking higher price listings, maybe that thought process will change. But I know me on the buyer side, when I see a 2.5 commission, I'm probably not trying to show that house. I just literally went under contract on a house with the commission was 2% on my side, on the buyer side. And I did not send that listing to my buyer. He found it on his own and was like, can we go see it? And I'm like, So now on the buyer side, I will charge the difference of what the listing side doesn't pay me. I charge the difference to my buyer. I hate doing it, but I'm doing the same work. I'm not going to take a pay cut. But
how's that working out for you?
It's working. I've been doing real estate. I've been doing real estate 3 years. I do a buyer consultation, Russell, and in the buyer consultation, I say that up front.
Wow, that's good. That's great.
And yep, and then I let the lender know. The lender does the numbers, and most times, Russ, when I'm negotiating closing costs, they're getting it back in me negotiating the seller contribution.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
But
yeah.
you know, one of my mentors encouraged me to do that. So, but my point in bringing that up is, do you think that's something to share with the seller that, hey, you know, when buyer's agents see that you're cutting them on their pay, they're less likely to show your house?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's one of your strong rebuttals. You know, we're splitting commissions, and you know, you say we're splitting commissions. So if we're going to do it at 5%, then the buyer's agent's getting a less 0.5%, and you can say, I always say it shouldn't be like this, but a lot of people really will steer clear of your listing because they're making less money. I know that's sort of walking the line because you're not supposed to talk about other realtors, but that it happens. I mean, you just told me that that's what you do. So
what they do out there, I don't know. This is what I do here.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I like your net situation, you know, you're going to come in with nets on where those numbers are going to be. I do think it's probably advantageous for, so you don't get yourself in trouble, that you at least need to go through and say, and even if you jumble it all together, say transfer tax and commissions will be this amount of money. I mean, I know you're going straight to the net, but you do need to sort of let them know where that money is being spent.
Yes, you're right. And I didn't mean to give the wrong impression. So the net estimate sheet I use is straight from Bright.
Okay.
And it
so it shows all that.
Yes, it itemized, and I highlight it, right?
Yep.
I highlight all three of those figures, but I point to the bottom line figure.
That's right. That's so you're right.
I say, here's your expenses right here, and here's what you're gonna net.
Yep. Yep. Well, I like that. That's good. That's good. That'll definitely help with commission. I mean, guys, you're not going to get the commission question every listing appointment, so don't worry about it. I mean, well, don't worry. Not say don't worry about it, but don't stress like it's coming every time. The more thorough you are during your listing presentation, the less likely that's going to come up. So, and as you gain traction and as you have more listings and you have more clout, it's going to show up a lot less than that too. You know, some of the top listing agents in the market center and in the area, you know, you don't really run into that anymore because you proved what you bring to the table. So work on that. Work on that. Steve, thank you so much for going through that with us. Appreciate it. Does anybody have questions? I'm going to open it up for questions for me. Any kind of discussion we have. We pretty much went through everything that's in the book there. But does anybody have anything they'd like to talk about?
How are you sending out your pre-listing package? I mean, is it something you're pulling out of?
So I have a marketing coordinator, and we have an email that has pretty much all the links to everywhere that we market. Does have some PDFs of some print advertising and things. I always say that I tell them up front, we're in a different time now. You need to click on the links. You need to see our website. You need to see how we do things. And me sending you an email is better than me mailing it to you. So I usually send that out. One, I can see when they look at it and how many times they've looked at it. So that has been good for me because I know when I go to that listing appointment that they've been on and looked at that email and clicked around 20 times. So
are you sending that email through a service provider that you can track like vertical response or constant contact?
Yes. We just switched over to Brevity, but we were using Follow Up Boss, and both systems do it. When they open that email, we know that they open that email and how many times they do. So, and that's our CRM. So I'm sure if you compose something through command, I think it probably does that as well. Does it show opens on command? So I think so. So if you do that, at least you know. And like I said, if they're clicking through and they've spent a good amount of time, when you get there, you don't really even have to have that. You skip over that conversation. If they haven't, then when you send that little video that I recommended and say, I'm looking forward to our appointment tomorrow, please check out that email. You already know, you can look back and see they never opened that email up. So you're reminding them once again. What that also does is if you go back before you show up to their house and they still haven't looked at that email, you know you're going to have to get ready for that marketing email, that marketing question. So what I also then do is when I'm at the house, if they've never looked at it, you can then reiterate the reason why I send you that email is because you need to be hands-on. You need to click on my website. You need to click on our Facebook page, our Zillow page with all our recommendations. So a lot of times you can cut that down again. And I keep saying cut your listing presentation down, but you want to get to the point. You want to get them to sign that document as fast as possible, honestly. So that's what I recommend. But we do it through email. I'm not saying mailing something is not right, but just the listing volume that we do, she just has a compiled email. We'll change some of the wording. We look forward to seeing you on Thursday. I usually give her a time when I'm going to go and any kind of conversation that I have with them, and she'll personalize it a little bit and then send it out. Cool. Yeah. Anybody else?
I have to kill a big spider right now. Hold on.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, any questions you have for me that you don't want to ask here, you can always email me, call me. I'm available, so I'm an open book. So anything you want to know that we're doing in any way that can help you, I'll definitely share. So thank you for sticking with me. Maybe I'll get better at going through this these sheets the next time around.
You did well. Thank you.
Awesome. You used your personal experience. That was really helpful. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. Any way I can help, I'm